I grew up, my dad was a pastor, and when he passed away, the church changed, and I started looking for another church, and I spent years going to all kinds of different churches, but was never able to find one that felt right. Small group actually started because I personally was looking for a place to go to do the financial piece, and I looked it up online. Faith Church came up, and so I sent information to them asking where the group would be. And for us, the scary part, we didn't know anybody. Didn't know anybody in the church. We didn't know any of the people that were in the group.
Right.
Driving the first time, we were going to Linda's. We were going to meet a bunch of people we didn't know, but she had emailed me and made it very welcoming. So there was a little bit of nervousness because we didn't know anybody, but then she had a potluck dinner, so the first thing was to sit around the table together, and that really made it comfortable. We got to know each other over food.
Everybody got along really well because we're similar in age and likes.
And everybody in there made it easy.
Everybody was welcoming.
So through Doug's sermons, he started talking to us. Rich and I weren't married. We had been together for 10 years. Growing up with my dad as a minister and living together, is probably not the right thing to do. And during many of the sermons, we would leave and say, Doug was listening. He was looking in the windows. He's talking right at us. And how many times did we ride home and say, he's talking to us? In the meantime, we had some things going on at home, with our daughter and some challenges she was facing. And we were praying for God to intervene and help us get her through what she needed to get through. And we went one Sunday, and it just hit me so hard. And it hit Rich the same thing that day. We both left in tears.
Right.
And as we walked to the car, we both had been convicted. And I remember saying to Rich, what right do we have to ask God to help us when we're not even living right for Him? And we got in the car and
we drove back after the second sermon, and we went and
stalked Doug.
we
asked him if he would marry us because we knew that was the right thing to do. And so he said absolutely. And then that night we had our group here. We didn't know if they knew we were married or not. It never really came up. So that night I asked everybody's attention, and they all looked at us, and I said, well, I don't know if any of you know it or not, but Rich and I are not married. I was a little nervous because I didn't know how they would react, but I knew the group enough that they wouldn't judge us, that they would just support us. So we told them we weren't married and that we had talked to Doug and we wanted to get married, and they were all cheering and happy. And we wanted to make sure what was most important to us was for our children to be there in our small group, because this is the family that we have now. This is, we have our extended personal families, but these guys, they brought us through the journey. So the next thing you know, we were in the dining room here, and we were planning a wedding, and we had Doug on the phone. George Borey called Doug. We had him on speakerphone. We all picked a date. And by the time we left, we had a meal planned, we had a date picked. We had only to go buy our rings. Everybody else did everything. They made the meal, they decorated the church, they did everything right down to the flowers. One of the best decisions you ever make is to join a group. And even if the first group isn't the right group, keep trying, because the bonds that you form and the support, the accountability that's held. In our group, we've laughed together, we've cried together, we've rejoiced together, we've celebrated together, and it's nice to know that there's somebody at the other end of the phone that I can either text or pick up the phone at any time whenever we need anything. You cannot spend enough money to buy the love that we had at our wedding. I wouldn't trade it for anything. Having the support of our group, it was the best wedding ever. Now we're coming up on 2-year anniversary. A couple weeks.